Hello, and welcome everybody to the Lobbycast. This is episode 295, and today is October 18th. Got a little bit of news here at the beginning of the show. Something near and dear to my heart. The Xbox One has now gotten DLNA support. It's something that those of you who have been listening or watching the show have heard me complain about quite often. And so what this means is, with DLNA support, that the Xbox One can now stream media off my media server on my PC in the basement. So that's super awesome. That means I just have a much easier way to do that, and I don't have to go through my Xbox 360 anymore. So I can feel free to move that into a different room, since I don't really play games on it anymore. So that's really cool. In addition to that, Plex has released their client app for the Xbox One, and so I have two options. I have a very nice, clean interface with the Plex app, or I can go through the Xbox's somewhat clunky native app for connecting to my media server. So those are both good things. You see my my sound levels are a little low here. Yeah, it'll be fine. I'm not going to worry about it. It's totally cool. A couple of movie news items. Warwick Davis is joining the cast of Star Wars Episode 7. I was very glad to hear that, except for the part where he played Wicket the Ewok, and that pretty much means that there are going to be Ewoks in Episode 7. I don't know how I feel about that. They've never been good in the past. Like all these little things like Jar Jar Binks and the Ewoks and all number of other irritating stuffed or animated critters. But we can continue to hope for the best. Everything else about Episode 7 looks like it's going to be pretty amazing. So hope for the best. Hope for the best. Also, Robert Downey Jr. has been confirmed for Captain America 3. And of course, Tony Stark is the character played by Robert Downey Jr. And so that probably means Tony Stark and Iron Man will be in the next Captain America. And it's looking like not as a friend. So what this could be setting up for comic book fans, and I had to look into this because I haven't really been into comic books, but what this means is that it's probably setting up the Marvel Civil War storyline. And I think this is dividing the camps between the pro-government mutants and super powered individuals must be registered with the U.S. government, and then that pits them against the people who are anti-registration. And you see a little bit of this on the X-Men movies. It's kind of an interesting thing because Marvel doesn't have rights to the X-Men movies right now, so I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work out. And also, Sony owns the rights to Spider-Man still, and Spider-Man figures heavily into the Civil War story. So you may see a modified version of the Civil War unless something gets worked out to where we can bring in these other Marvel characters from other ownership. And for some TV news, this is a really cool bit. HBO is going to be releasing their HBOGo app as a standalone service where you won't have to have HBO through your cable or satellite provider in order to use it. So it's a little bit more of a cord cutting option for those of us who don't have cable or satellite, and just use things like Netflix and Hulu Plus, and Amazon Prime Video. So that's a really cool thing. There hasn't been anything released about pricing or exactly when it'll be released, but it is coming, and I expect that some of the other channels, the higher end pay channels, will follow suit. I may even see things like from FX or networks like that as well. So again, let's hope for the best. If we can a la carte our television, then we'll all be better off. We won't be stuck with Home Shopping Network and all kinds of other nonsense that you won't ever really want to watch. You have to pay for those in order to get access to things like HBO, which you then have to pay extra for. So it'll be better once we can just choose the networks that we want to watch. Heading in that direction. So that's great news. And this episode, absolutely not brought to you by Guinness. I am enjoying one while I'm recording the show, though. All right. Well, let's move on to the Weekly Whatchas. I haven't been listening to a whole lot this week, mostly Shuffle All. And there was some... I had lots of music listened to on my flight back from Glasgow to Reykjavik and Reykjavik to Denver. And of course, I apologize for the lack of excitement this episode. 293 was recorded live at Coda, and 294 was recorded in actually that was recorded in Edinburgh, Scotland. So this is just plain Jane Denver, and in my house. So a couple other things to listen to. I finished up listening to an episode of Fat Man on Batman, and this is Ralph Garman and Kevin Smith and some audience members reading from Batman 66, and which Ralph Garman wrote, I believe. And then I listened to a couple episodes of Freakonomics, one of which was really interesting. They're talking about how people have a selective outrage, and one of the things they were talking about that I didn't fully realize, I'd heard a little bit about the limes, but I hadn't heard about the other things. Basically, if we Americans here, actually stateside in the U.S., eat avocados, mangoes, or limes, then part of our purchase is funding cartels in Mexico. So there you go. You don't have to stop eating these things, because basically, if we drive down the demand, then the poor farmers there will just get extorted for more money out of their crops. So, yeah, it's just kind of an interesting little thing that you don't really think about. All those, a lot of the things coming out of Mexico that we enjoy here in the States, people are getting extorted in order to be able to deliver those things to us. And I think that is about it for what I've been listening to. Watched a few things this week. It's been really nice because a lot of the fall shows are coming back, and really enjoying catching up with some of those shows. Notably, I watched the first episode of Comic Book Men, and that was fun. And Jay Muse and Harley Quinn Smith were on it. Harley Quinn is going to be featured in Yoga Hosers along with Johnny Depp's daughter, and you can see them in Tusk, playing the same parts, basically the convenience store clerks. And so it's kind of interesting. I mean, I didn't realize that she is as old as she is. And let's see what else. been continuing to watch Sons of Anarchy, and saw the Walking Dead premiere, which is just amazing. It was just really good. Probably one of the better episodes of Walking Dead that I've seen in a while. And I watched the Homeland premiere, so that season 4 premiere. Kind of wondering how it's going to go without Brody, but really Claire Danes is she's just amazing to watch. If you haven't watched Homeland at all, you owe it to yourself to see some really great television. Claire Danes is awesome. I mean, everybody's great in the show, but she is exceptional. So, I mean, some people are just better at their jobs than others. So, so that's been kind of nice. I watched a little bit more Key and Peele. I think I haven't seen them all, but I think they're through 3 or 4 episodes on that show. That's a Comedy Central show. And American Horror Story is back, and their season premiere was the most watched premiere for FX since they've been around. So that's really good. It had kind of a shaky start. You know, it's always a strange thing with American Horror Story. You don't know quite what to expect because the storyline is completely different from season to season. They use a lot of the same actors, but the setting and the story and you know, even I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. It's a really interesting television show. Worth checking out. Not really for the faint of heart. It's a little explicit in its violence and other things. Definitely not safe for work. I guess we have to tag it like that. Not that anybody would be watching such things at work anyway. Let's see here. What else? Sons of Anarchy, yeah. Big Bang Theory, still watching that. And Blacklist, watching that. And those things are good. They're just, you know, the side things that I like to watch. Sons of Anarchy has gotten better. I've complained about it the last few weeks, but it actually is starting to pick up some momentum for this season, and it needs to because it's the series finale. So they've got to get something done here. And as far as playing games, haven't had a whole lot of time, but I have managed to put a few minutes here and there into Destiny. I continue to love that game. You know, it's kind of reinvigorated my my interest in video games because really haven't been playing much of anything for quite some time. But for whatever reason, it struck a chord with me. And Destiny is made by the people who created Halo, and you know, I've had a lot more interest in this game than I have in any of the Halo titles. So if you like somewhat RPG style first person shooters, this is definitely an interesting one, and it gains a lot of depth the longer you play. So love it. Not a whole lot else going on this week. These solo shows are usually pretty short because there's no real discussion. But we should have some more people on next week whenever life is not so busy. I'm kind of squeezing this one into my own life. So we will see you next week. I appreciate you guys watching and listening. And I think that's about it. Love you. Bye.